podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello, I'm here too. Welcome.
Yes.
What are we going to do today, Trevor?
I think we're going to do some more movies.
Yeah.
Just take a couple of random movies, throw them at each other, come up with a game that's based off of those two movies.
Yeah.
Some random bot that I've got. I don't know, some bullshit. 3, 2, 1.
It's gonna be a lazy one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the movie I have is called Lansky.
The movie I have is called Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. Lansky the Batman. Well, the synopsis here is when the aging Meyer Lansky is investigated one last time by the feds, who suspect he has stashed away millions of dollars over half a century, the retired gangster spins a dizzying tale revealing the untold truth about his life as the notorious boss of Murder Incorporated and the National Crime Syndicate. So I feel like that could tie into a Batman narrative.
I was almost thinking this is Lansky Forever. This is the third one in the series. Okay. And he's spinning yet another tale. It's this one is more fantastical.
Yet another tale. He just keeps telling more and more outrageous tales about his time. I mean, to be honest, like, Murder Incorporated, really? Like, that's what you called your, like, organized crime company or organization? Okay, I mean, I could see a sort of ridiculous organized crime mafia-ish sort of game.
Yeah,
like over the top.
I can almost see it as kind of like a run-based sort of thing where you've got different things that you can go, this is what I'm choosing for now. This is what happened at this point. It's sort of like a choose your own adventure, and it's like it'll go down this path. And and maybe to tie it into the Batman-ish thing, maybe this is kind of it could end up that you are running like one of the gangs, essentially, right? Like all of Batman's villains are sort of do have their own sort of sets of organized crime kind of things. Yeah,
and like you maybe focus it down a particular type of route, but that's the thing, you end up being like, oh well, I choose, this particular theme for my syndicate of criminals, and they all have to wear red with big feathers in their hat or whatever.
Yeah.
And sort of really you're creating the identity of this criminal organization.
There is kind of a fun idea of, there's talk of this figure of like the Bat. Not necessarily Batman, but just the idea of he's like the boogeyman for organized crime.
Yeah.
But, depending on how much noise you're actually making and how many waves you're actually really making, you may become the target. The target.
Yeah. You hear about other organizations being hit by this dark figure. And I think you keep it vague.
It could definitely be, kind of a run like game where you're like, okay, let's see how high I can take this organized crime thing this time. And
when I say, I think run's more like a game of, say, Civilization or something, right? Like not like a roguelike as such, although you could still have sort of certain unlockables and certain things, but I'm almost more thinking a longer campaign than just what a roguelike run would be. I think it's, you do it over a longer period of time because you're building up your territory and stuff, right? Maybe a bit like, what was that one that came out a little while ago? City of something maybe, or anyway, that was more tactical, and I'm not saying we necessarily do that. But I kind of like this idea of, it's run-based, like a board game is run-based, like, right? Like, it's like, okay, this time I'm going to try to take over the East End first because, I know certain things about the types of buildings that are going to be there or whatever, or the types of, the particular types of people who live there. They're not going to fight back as much, but, so I can take over more territory in a shorter amount of time before I tackle, the north side or whatever it is. And yeah, you could have your different techniques of you're gonna come in and you're gonna spend more money on silencing people so that you're not making as many waves. You're just kind of slowly taking over this area of town.
You're going to send a decoy down Main Street, sort of all dressed to the nines and, looking for protection money, but he's just a decoy based on, you're going to do something actually less protection-y.
Yeah, you're going to rob a bank or something.
But it's like, no, we're out doing this. It's a much lesser crime.
But I do like that idea of making it a bit wacky. So it's not just taking it as seriously. It's like the big brash criminals, who where the identity is a huge part of it. And almost like a cartoon. Like I'm thinking like The Mask or something, like when he pulls out his Tommy gun, like going over the top and but the whole town's like that. It's kind of this larger than life kind of cartoony sort of vibe.
Yeah. You get to sort of choose, my animal token is going to be the Raven. So that's my villain name. I'm the Raven. And, what do ravens do while they're typically known as a bird of murder, or murder of crows or something like that. And again,
the way that Batman villains do, like you start getting like contraptions and tools and things. It's like, oh, now I've got these like metal wings that I can bring out and come down from a high building or whatever. Like it could still be maybe it is even sort of a third person brawler-ish sort of thing, but you've got some other troops and stuff. Like you're sort of almost commanding a small number of troops coming with you on these things, and you're powering them up in different ways, right? Based on, they've all got fucking beaks and...
Where are they getting these contraptions? Because they're just as good as Batman's contraptions. Now, hear me out.
You think...
Is Lucius Fox actually selling his services to everyone else?
Yeah, probably. Has he always been Batman's guy, like canonically? Because I know in the movies he didn't come in till like the second one. Did he?
He was in the first.
Was he making all of Batman's stuff? I even in the comics, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's how he got that weird, that Batmobile sort of thing, which is this huge tumbler.
Was that in Begins though? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know the history of that, whether he's always been the one who makes his stuff. But yeah, like I like the idea that there's someone
who's
playing both sides, even if it's like if we're going with Batman, like it's someone in Wayne Enterprises in the R&D, department that's making some money on the side, selling to all the villains.
This is a little bit deadly. Let's not sell this one to Batman because he's not going to be happy with that.
He doesn't like to kill, but there's some people who have morals that don't stretch that far.
Okay, 3-1 click.
Sure.
Well, 3-1 movie.
The Kid with Bruce Willis.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
this is a weird.
If you recall, The Kid, this was a sort of magical adventure where a version of himself at 8 years old appears in his life, basically, and he learns to dream again as a child or whatever. I don't know. I think I saw it once, but apparently it's by the magic of the moon, according to this synopsis.
Sure. Okay. Unbelievable. It stars Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
The crazy exploits of 4 offbeat astronauts who travel to the moon on a rescue mission to determine the fate of 2 space agency comrades who have not been heard from in several days.
With Snoop Dogg as one of the main characters? Okay.
As the main character.
That's pretty funny.
Major Legrand Bush.
Okay. It's got to be comedic. Whatever. Like,
it's a parody of Star Trek.
Okay.
The film stars over 40 Star Trek cast members.
Wow. Never heard of it.
No. I
kind of want to watch that.
Okay. The film follows the exploits of 4 astronauts, one of whom is a marionette.
So serious. So it's actually a serious movie then.
It's a serious movie.
That's hilarious.
I actually really want to see this.
I bet it's terrible.
2020 here.
Initial release 16th December 2016, according to Google.
Oh, yeah. And then online it came out.
Okay. So. Yeah. It has a 3.1 on IMDb. Impressive. Yeah. Okay. Well, I like the idea then of, and we can go comedic with this or not, but what I took from the kid was like revisiting a life at different points.
Yep.
Whether we take it as the magical thing where they're existing at the same time, or we just take it as this game follows, like you play this person at different points in their life. It could be a fun thing to play an astronaut at like through different periods of their life. So like you play them at 8 years old and they're like playing with spaceships and they're, you know, whatever, like you kind of investigating or playing through these vignettes of a character determined to get to space, which could be interesting. Maybe that's not even the main gist of the game, though. Maybe that's like an intro almost, and then it's mostly a space-based game. Like you do it a bit more Star Trek-y and comedic. I feel like, I mean, I guess we've had some comedic-ish spacefaring games, and I mean, obviously, like Space Quest and those sorts of point-and-click adventure sort of things play off that a lot. But you know, was there ever a comedic like X-Wing v TIE Fighter kind of game? Like I feel like that could be cool. Yeah. Or like Wing Commander, you know? Those real like they had a narrative, but the main gist of the game was the dogfights out in space and traveling between places and escorting, you know, capital ships and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a lot that you could do there. I do like the idea of having it that, you know, you start off as, the kid on the space station, as you were sort of saying. I suppose where you could take it from there, it's really, really kind of hard to actually determine where to actually take it next.
Yeah,
like that keeps it.
I guess it depends on
keeps it moving.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the type of game you want to build, right?
Yeah.
I think you could do a fun thing there where you start to gather your like crew of
misfits
of misfits that, you know, sometimes they come with you on these.
Maybe a la your what was that skeleton crew that came out?
I watched a few episodes of it, but didn't watch the whole thing. But the Star Wars one with the kids,
with more, you know, they've rather than they find someone to help them out, they're actually on their own sort of thing. Yeah,
that could be interesting. Or I mean, again, that could almost be the sort of the first chapter of the game is your character as a kid meeting or going with their friends, like, yeah, going off, having an adventure, and that's sort of what drives them to whatever, join the fleet and become, you know, a captain or whatever. And then the rest of it is, okay, now they're older, you know, they're old friends, they've got a particular rapport. And then you do have these, you know, Wing Commander-esque missions and stuff where there's lots of banter and they're chatting with you, and you can bring in some drama when one of them their ship gets blown up and you have to go rescue them and from the depths of space. And yeah, like you could see a pretty cool comedic drama adventure happening in that sort of area. And I feel like those games aren't made as much anymore. Like there was a period where that was, I think there was the Star Wars one, it's probably like 10 years ago now, that had some of that sort of gameplay, or that was that sort of gameplay. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Yeah. But it's not done so much anymore.
No, I think nowadays they've sort of moved into a lot of other sort of stuff, a little bit more interactive.
I mean, this is like
interactive storytelling.
Yeah. Gameplay comes and goes in different ways. So,
anyway, let's go on to the next one because it's not that funny.
That's fine.
No, let's not do that one.
The Exorcism of Hannah Stevenson. Is that a sequel?
The Art of the Steal.
Okay.
Okay, you read what yours is about?
Yeah, so I mean the title is pretty gives you the direction of it, but Hannah and Matt, a young couple on their first holiday together, quickly discover that they may not see eye to eye. Feeling as though she let her boyfriend down, Hannah enlists the help of a mysterious gypsy woman, as you do, in the hope that the couple's troubles can be overcome. However, when Matt wakes to find his girlfriend has disappeared, the gypsy woman's sinister intentions become all too clear, and presumably something's possessed Hannah in some way.
The Art of the Steal. Crunch Calhoun, a third-rate motorcycle daredevil and part-time art thief, teams up with his snaky brother to steal one of the most valuable books in the world. But it's not just about the book for Crunch. He's keen to rewrite some chapters of his own past as well.
Ooh. Okay.
So I like the idea of someone on the team is possessed.
It's possessed. Well, I do.
And the book that you're stealing is the Necronomicon.
Right. Or at least some sort of guide on exorcising demons. I do like the idea
stealing it from the Vatican.
Well, I like the idea of again, I feel like we're sort of taking the kind of slightly quirky, wacky movie tropes in this episode, but like almost a bit of National Treasure, but a goofy buddy comedy, and one of them's possessed, or gets possessed at some point in the game. Maybe you set off originally to get something else. But then in the first mission, you piss off an old gypsy woman.
I know. I kind of want to get rid of that.
Yes.
That part of it.
And I think we'll keep that since it's basically a terrible stereotype. No, but like you stumble into a fucking demonic circle or I don't know, whatever happens to release this entity.
During the prologue, you're doing something you're going through this mansion, and you break into the room, that has these massive locks on it.
Yep.
You get inside there, and there's like a pentagram. There's things all around, and you're like, oh well, let's just steal this. Maybe there's a book, maybe there's something else in the middle, and you steal it, and like one of the members of your team, the member who actually grabbed the thing, is now possessed. Yeah. And you're now dealing with that.
Yeah. So how do we bring that into the mechanics? I feel like having driving mechanics where you sometimes have to like stop and refasten the straps on your team member who's strapped into the back or something so that they don't like attack and kill you all.
They're in a motorcycle sidecar.
They're in a sidecar just strapped in.
Just, they're in a straight jacket or whatever, and they're just, going crazy.
If you go over too many bumps, they manage to like loosen themselves, and you have to keep looking off to the side, while you're driving to make sure that they're still tied up. They're just swearing at you the whole time, spewing green vomit.
Their heads going around in a circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the idea of, that's like that's the second scene. It's 3 months later and it's the second scene and you're now racing through traffic.
With this demonic being next to you, yeah. You're using the swivel of its head as a compass. Like, it happens to point towards, wherever you need to go.
And when you get there, there's like this old priest, basically goes, "Oh, I can help you. I'm missing my exorcism book. You might have to go find
it's
one."
It's just fetch quests. The whole thing's just a series of fetch quests.
You can then leave this guy, like your possessed guy there, and this is now your safe house that you're coming back to each time.
Right, okay.
You're like doing little heists every now and again. Because you're a third-rate motorcycle daredevil, there's, those jumps across the city just like in GTA.
Right, so it's like an open world. I kind of like the idea actually of an open world, but not a massive city like GTA, but actually just a smaller town where there are just secrets hidden all over the place that you can discover from going up a jump and going on top of this building and then jumping off here through a window that's over a gap. And oh shit, like now I can unlock this door and use this as a hideout or whatever. Or
and this is launch point. I can build a ramp right here and I can ramp across to the next one and the next one and the next one.
And that you end up just building building these paths around the town. I like that as sort of an overall mechanic. And then as you go on these missions, like maybe there's sometimes a benefit to taking the possessed person because they do like lead the way in certain ways, or you give them a poke and they vomit on people and that gets them out of the way. It's acidic or something. Again, you go a bit wacky with it.
You got to be careful of getting puke on like the sidecar itself because it starts breaking down.
You've got repair mechanics and stuff. You've got to have earned enough money you take it to the repair shop. You have to help them upgrade the repair shop to be able to manage, demonic vomit aftercare. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, let's click again. See what we get. The Man in the Iron Mask.
Ooh. Now I got the Empty Man. The Empty Man in the Iron Mask.
I didn't think I realized this, but the version of The Man in the Iron Mask that came out in 1998 was actually a sequel to The Three Musketeers.
Right, well, because they share characters and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Like the original books and stuff. It's the same author.
So years have passed since the Three Musketeers, Aramis, Athos, and Porthos have fought together with their friend D'Artagnan. But with a tyrannical King Louis using his power to wreak havoc in the kingdom while his twin brother Philippe remains imprisoned, the Musketeers reunite to abduct Louis and replace him with Philippe.
Right. I'm not sure if the original was, I feel like the original was mostly D'Artagnan, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just remembering that, like, reading The Man in the Iron Mask, I don't think I read the original, even translation of it. I think I read, like, graphic novels based telling the story of it or whatever in primary school. But maybe I was just remembering D'Artagnan, from Three Musketeers and going, oh, now he's just a musketeer. Now it's the Four Musketeers.
I mean, that's what I actually kind of felt was weird about it. The fact that it, it was called the Three Musketeers, but your protagonist was D'Artagnan.
Right.
But he's fighting with them, so he's technically becomes a musketeer. Like, apparently
it's actually a trilogy, essentially. with one set 20 years after the Three Musketeers, and then one set another 10 years after that, which is essentially the Man in the Iron Mask. But it may only also the actual Man in the Iron Mask story might only be a small section of that, because apparently it's a huge novel that's been split into 3, 4, or 5 volumes at various points. It was like released as a serialized thing over like 3 years in that 1847 to 1850.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the Empty Man about?
Retired cop James La Sombra is asked by a friend to investigate the disappearance of her daughter, who seemingly packed in the night and left an ominous message on the bathroom mirror. The empty man made me do it. As he investigates this mysterious figure further, James begins to see and hear strange things and is forced to come to terms with his past and what it means for his future. So, do you think he has a twin locked in a basement somewhere? Or something? Or she does? Like, I feel like we got to take that aspect of it.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of the chief of police has a twin brother.
Yep.
Or the captain of this precinct has a twin brother. And
who's in prison, but he has to get him out, and it's a wacky buddy comedy.
Well, I was thinking he's already been replaced, and weird shit is now happening, and now you got to try and find your actual captain because.
So so you're not playing the captain. Your captain has been replaced, presumably by his criminal twin brother.
Yep.
They've swapped places, or you discover that they've swapped places. All you know is that the captain started acting weird. Yes. And doesn't have that mole on his cheek anymore.
It's on the other side.
Mirrored twins.
Is he left-handed?
In his physical, it turns out his heart is on the right-hand side of his chest.
No, I really like that. I like the idea of the twin brother was actually a serial killer.
Right. It's not just of the criminal element. It's like a too far gone evil, psychopath. Yeah.
100%.
That's so. I do feel like this one obviously makes more sense. It's a bit more serious, dramatic kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Do
you do this as maybe like a 3D adventure sort of thing, like a bit of Quantic Dream-esque, or not necessarily the gameplay, but I'm just feeling like the third person 3D. You can have some great dramatic, mo-capped scenes and stuff playing out.
Yeah.
That sort of level of fidelity and the way it's presented.
Yeah, I can almost see this very similar to it, like an Until Dawn or The Quarry or something like that. Like it feels like you could get a lot of mocap and all this sort of stuff. And,
that's it. I think you almost essentially, as some of these are, play it out as an interactive movie in a sense, like an interactive mocapped movie with branching and certain elements of actual gameplay.
Certain things that if you make the wrong decision, then someone's going to die, and that's going to change, the way the rest of the thing plays out because you now down a different branch.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And the idea of bringing in that idea of, the man in the iron mask trying to replace someone with their twin brother, but it's on,
it's contemporary.
It has already happened, and you're not even part of this sort of thing. You're just dealing with the aftermath. Yeah.
And presumably solving, like figuring it out. And, you have the scene where you manage to go and rescue the captain. And,
there's something about finding an email, and it's, the 4 people who have actually been in charge of this. They're kind of like the Dark Musketeers, like they've named themselves Aramis, Athos, Porthos, and D'Artagnan. But, they're obviously code names, but it's, they're doing this for,
it's Jeremy,
for sadistic purposes.
Arthur,
sort of thing.
Portland, and,
D'Artagnan.
And D'Artagnan, yeah. Just someone was a real fan. Someone's parents were a fan of Alexander Dumas.
There's something about them just literally going with those as code names.
Yeah. You can play into it, of course.
But yeah, just being on the outside of that, and there's obviously some corrupt cops there that are potentially have done this,
or at least helped.
Thinking that it would actually be good for them to be able to get away with their stuff because.
Well, and I like starting
they really
it
wanted
off.
but they've actually unleashed, someone really, really crazy.
I like starting it off subtle though as well. Like it's got to be a big reveal when you discover what's actually happened. So for the first half of the game or whatever, it's just what's happened to the chief. Why is he acting this way? It's sort of slowly getting more unhinged or discovering more little things that don't make sense. More and more people are getting suspicious or like worried. And then, you find the evidence at some point.
He only likes one sugar in his coffee.
Now he's taking 7. That's psychopath behavior. I wonder if his psychopath brother who is in prison has swapped with places with him. No, that's ridiculous. That could never happen. Only the dirtiest cops in this precinct know the codes to get into his maximum security prison and turn the cameras off.
He's sitting in bed, and you look over at his bedside table, and there's like, Man in the Iron Mask, and there's the 3 Musketeers.
Yeah.
In the original French, and he's just
it's he's got the original serialized versions, however they were released. It's just stacks of
it's old parchment, like it's from the
I wonder how they were released.
It's breaking down.
Yeah, it's funny.
I think that's about it for tonight.
Yeah, let's leave it there. So thank you for joining us. If you'd like to find our previous episodes online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm and listen to them all there. Yeah, check it out.
If you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure by the band Kuradust. And that can be found for free at kuradust.bandcamp.com.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trev Scott.
3, 2, 1, stop.